forum tonight because it consists of two parts. We want to hear from Senator Royce Duplessis about the two amendments that are on the ballot, so that we can get a greater understanding and education when we go to vote on November the 5th. And then we want to hear from Britain with Step Up Louisiana about their campaigns that they're currently involved in. Senator Duplessis, I know that you have to leave at 5:20 on tonight, so we're going to give you the floor now so that you can speak on these ballots. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you, Reverend, and thank you, Justice and beyond. I appreciate you always, and I'm always honored to be invited to come and talk to y'all about whatever the issues might be. Today, we have some issues on the upcoming ballot. It's actually not two, but three amendments. There is a statewide constitutional amendment, and there are two parish-wide charter amendments that are local. So if you don't mind, I can discuss the first two. I do understand that that Britain from Step Up is going to be on at some point. Their campaign connects to the second charter amendment, but I'm happy to certainly talk about that one as well, if you like. I just know that Step Up did a lot of work on getting that charter change, that charter proposal on the local ballot. But with that said, you have Constitutional Amendment number 1 that came out of the most recent legislative session. And essentially what it's proposing to do is provide for a constitutional amendment that will take alternative energy production revenue that's generated from the Gulf of Mexico, and to put those dollars in the Coastal Protection Restoration Fund. So I think it's pretty straightforward. It passed overwhelmingly. I think it was no votes in the House, or maybe 3 no votes in the Senate. But it's just going to amend the Constitution to allow for federal proceeds from alternative energy production in the Gulf of Mexico, and to put those funds in the Coastal Protection and Restoration Fund. And I think that's a good step. Obviously, we need to shore up our coast. And as we as a state begin to move further down the path of investing in alternative energy and using our resources, one of which is the Gulf of Mexico, to do particularly offshore wind development, that as we generate revenue, we're ensuring that at least a percentage of those dollars is going to go towards the Coastal Protection and Restoration Fund. So that's really all the constitutional amendment is creating, and I plan to vote for it. But don't know if there are any questions on that. But it's really kind of a forward-looking amendment.
Senator, thank you for explaining that. Of course, you did it very well. But let me ask you this. We're always concerned about the language of these amendments being not straightforward enough, and using jargon that people may not understand. Do you think that this amendment is pretty straightforward and enough that people will get it and vote yes to it? Because it does seem like it is one that we definitely need to vote yes on.
Yeah, I do. And again, as a lawmaker myself, as a lawyer myself, I also am challenged oftentimes with the way these things are worded. Bill authors will work with staff to come up with language, and it's incredibly frustrating sometimes when you read these amendments and you say, why does it have to be worded so difficult? And that breeds skepticism, rightfully so. I think every amendment should be viewed with skepticism. Honestly, I can't say for certain that this one will pass, because so many voters, not just here in New Orleans, but across the state, view a lot of these amendments with skepticism. So I don't know that there are any campaigns across the state underway to pass this or to oppose this. My gut tells me that it should pass. I think it's pretty straightforward when I read the language, and I've read it a few times just to see if there's anything that could be an issue. I know the bill author, where he's coming from, and I think it's well intended, and I think it's something that could save our state, that could serve our state well. It basically mirrors what we already have on the books as it relates to fossil fuel revenue that's been generated. This would just apply to the restoration of our coast for any future renewable energy development in the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. I haven't heard any issue or read any issue as to why this one would be problematic.
Okay, very good.
Yep. All right. And on the local side, this was not a statewide matter. This was driven by the city council under the leadership of Council Member Leslie Harris specifically. This would be a charter amendment to essentially put more safeguards around funding for housing in the city of New Orleans. We all know what a challenge we have had in our city around the cost of housing. It's affected everybody, regardless of whatever stream of income whatever means of income you may have, and it's hit people on the lower end particularly hard. So while this current council has taken a lot of steps to address the housing issue, this would not only codify it into law, but into the city charter by creating a housing trust fund. It's not a new tax. It's not a new millage. It would just ensure that 2% of the city's existing budget would go to a housing trust fund. They're estimating roughly 17 million a year, and the city is already doing that, I guess, so you can call that sort of a pilot. And this would essentially lock it in so that regardless of who the next city council is, regardless of who the next mayor is, that we as a city are deciding that it's a priority enough to put this in the to put this in the city charter. And they're going to be looking to use it for three primary purposes. And that's going to be to create affordable rental housing, filing financial gaps and trying to incentivize landlords. They're going to try to preserve affordable housing rental units by supporting small landlords so that they can make improvements, and then creating and preserving affordable home ownership opportunities, such as rehabilitation of formerly blighted properties and trying to add fortified roofs. So we know that the struggle has been real with trying to solve the insurance crisis at the state level. That's something that we're also working on, but this is separate and apart from that. And this would just try to put aside roughly $17 million a year to address those three areas that I just mentioned. And this is something that I'm definitely voting for, and I hope it's something that the city votes for.
Thank you, Senator. Again, whenever we start talking about finances and revenue and millages, I think the people's fear, and understandably so, is that somehow this is going to take more money out of their pockets. And as we know, this is not anything new. The city has been doing this, but this codifies it, as you said, or that, paraphrase what you said. Is the language in this worded in such a way that people are not going to think that this is a new tax on them?
Yeah, that's always the challenge with any initiative, is for those who are pushing it to communicate it in the right way to give voters that assurance. I think the natural reaction of voters will probably be, is this more money coming out of my pocket? So those advocating are going to have to properly communicate that it is not a new tax. I think the way that it's worded should communicate that, but I do think that there will be, when you first look at it, you see it says it requires an annual appropriation of at least 2%. That could be read by some to think that it's, that this is something that's not already being done by ordinance and by statute. So I think it's going to take a very good campaign to communicate over these next few weeks that it is not a new tax and it's not a new millage. So because the way that it's worded right now, you probably can't make that distinction.
And as you said, it's being done, but
Correct.
that if the next mayor wants to come along and next council, they can easily do away with that and so on. And
That's right.
I mean, that fortified roof thing is major, absolutely major.
Yep.
Yes.
That's where Brooke have a question.
Go ahead, Brooke.
Oops. Yes. Senator Blesses, I wanted to get one question about the constitutional amendment. And that is how much do you think this will offset the fact that we are about to run out or close to, we're tapering down on the amount of oil spill money left.
Right.
Do you think this will really top off the coffers so that we have money to spend on the coastal restoration?
I don't know. It really just depends on how much we generate. I was part of a delegation a year ago that actually traveled to Providence, Rhode Island to see what they have done with their offshore wind development. And believe it or not, a lot of what they developed were Louisiana companies played a big role in that. I think we have a huge opportunity. So I think the real question is how much are we going to invest in it to determine how much we're going to generate, which ultimately plays into how much we put into the Coastal Restoration Fund. We're obviously at a critical juncture, as you pointed out, that those funds are shrinking to the point that we don't really have a clear path forward on how we're going to restore those dollars. So that's to me even more of a reason why we should support this. But I can't say at this time that it would just really all depend on how much we generate from any offshore wind development in the future.
And we're also running out of time.
Right? Absolutely running out of time.
Right.
Yeah.
The coast keeps shrinking.
money and time. Right.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks
absolutely.
for your answer.
For certain.
Senator Duplessis, I want to be very respectful of your time. And I know that at 5:20 that you have to go. And so let me ask you.
And that's only because I'm on another panel across town. There's a community discussion at Cafe Istanbul about some stuff that I committed to a while back, and I just have to get over there. And I'm actually going to be a little late getting there, but I'm sorry that I have to jump.
No need to apologize. Okay. We understand. You want to say anything in closing?
Yeah, I just want to encourage everyone to support the amendments that I've discussed. And I know that there's going to be a second local constitutional amendment for the Workers' Bill of Rights. I think that's a great piece that we certainly need to also codify and place in the city charter. So I want to express my support for that, and also step up in all of the organizations that work to make that a reality. Workers, we have to do so much more in this state. And, New Orleans is obviously going to have to lead when it comes to that, because there's been so much, just so many challenges we face at the state level. We're trying to give workers their rights with respect to pay and paid leave, et cetera. So I hope that passes as well. But if there's any other questions after today's meeting that you have, just give me a call, send me an email, send me a text, whatever works, and I'll do my best to respond timely. And I just want to thank you all for all that you do for our community.
We always appreciate you, Senator. Thank you so much for being here.
Amen.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Y'all have a great evening. Thank you. God bless. Take care.
Amen.
Bye-bye. All right. Next is Britton here?
I don't think so. And I think there was some confusion. They were going home first. And then
let me Kiana was in touch, so
they were working at a cafe that closed at 5 and they didn't realize, and so they were rushing home. But they said they would be on soon, but that was at 6 o'clock. So let me see if I can get in contact again.
At 5 o'clock.
Okay.
You mean 5.
I'm on a different time zone. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
All right. Let me ask this question and I'm just going to pose it right now to those in attendance. We could just have a brief discussion about the two amendments that Senator Duplessis discussed with us. I'm very interested in if anybody knows groups that are doing substantial work to make sure that these amendments are understood, because it sounds like there should be a yes on both of them.
Yeah.
And if not, then we're going to have to deal with that. But there needs to be I haven't seen a substantial amount of education. So Bruce brings me to concern. Does anyone have any comments?
Betty.
Go ahead, Betty.
You on mute, Betty.
Thought I took it off mute. Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up about understanding, because I was reading the article in the Advocate today about the millage. And the article in the millage wasn't clear about whether or not it was going to cost the taxpayer more money than, and of course, Senator Duplessis said, no, it's not, that this is a charter amendment. But the news article did I thought, and I would love for y'all to read it, but I thought they did a terrible job of letting people know that it was not going to cost more money than what we're already paying in taxes. So I don't know whether it's Councilwoman Harris, Councilmember Harris, that it was her idea, if they're going to do anything. But I just think right now that people are under so much stress with property insurance, and some people with property taxes. Luckily, mine's frozen. But I would love to see them do something else about it. And maybe I just need to write a letter to her, an email, and say, you need to explain this better to people or it's not going to pass. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait.
Thank you, Betty. Yeah. I think that's one of the things that we need to press for is more education on the subject and better language. We don't need to scare people. Anytime people talk about money, it scares them. People are already hard pressed. Thank you, Betty. Who else we got? Valerie.
Yes, you have Brooke again, and I want to say Lane also.
Let's
Let me go.
let's go to Lane first.
There we go. I was just going to suggest that, Betty, where was the article that you saw that was misleading?
The
It's
Advocate.
in the Advocate today. Front,
I
yeah.
would strongly suggest if a bunch of us write, an email, like tonight or tomorrow morning to the Advocate pointing out, I think we should read the article first. I'm going to try to pull up a link to the article so we all have it. But if a bunch of people write a letter, saying, hey, this was misleading and you need to correct this, either do a better job of researching it and then correct it, or just correct it right now. I think that might have an effect. That's all I wanted to suggest. I'm looking for the article so I can post a link to it in the chat.
All right, thank you, Lane. I think that's a great idea. Anybody want to just put in the chat whether you're willing to take that on and participate in that writing?
I'm certainly going to write one, and I hope.
Yeah, I'll write one.
Yeah.
All right, just put in the chat. You're willing to. Yes.
Brittany has made it on.
All right, thank you.
Britain has made it on.
Welcome, Britton.
Okay.
Y'all, how's everyone doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I apologize for my tardiness. It was a logistical error. I was working out of somewhere and they came to get me out of the phone booth and were like, we close at 5. And I was like, cool, I have to leave. So glad to be here now.
All right, we're glad that you made it. We totally understand. So we just had Senator Duplessis here, who gave some solid props to the work of Step Up Louisiana. But I'm not going to take any thunder away from you. I want you to tell us who you are, what you do, and about the great organization that you are with.
For sure. I appreciate y'all having me. I'm Britton Forsyth. I'm the legislative coordinator at Step Up Louisiana. I don't know how much folks here know about Step Up. I'm sure many of you have been around Step Up or seeing orange shirts in your neighborhood. Step Up is a membership-based organization that fights for economic and education justice. We have 3 chapters in New Orleans, Greater Baton Rouge, and Jefferson Parish. We're doing a lot of stuff. For this fall election, we're doing the Fall for Liberation. We're training about 60 organizers, community organizers, and different different sort of types of organizing. So, standard community organizing, electoral work. We have some working on our dollar store campaign, a lot of different places. And we're really excited to make a really big investment in Southeast Louisiana, and the organizing skills down here. So we're working on that. Really today, I want to talk about our Workers' Bill of Rights that's on the ballot in November. We're one of 2 local ballot measures that are going to be on your November ballot. And the Workers' Bill of Rights is adding workers' rights into the Bill of Rights and the Home Rule Charter for the city of New Orleans. And what we're adding specifically is paid leave, a living wage, healthcare access, adherence to laws and regulations around unions, and equal pay. And those pieces came out of town halls and listening sessions that we held all across New Orleans, folks from different neighborhoods and different sectors, and asked them what they wanted to see in a Workers' Bill of Rights and what was important to them to have in their workplace. And that came directly out of there. Those are the things that got the most votes. And that we also felt were very far reaching. So we're going to add those to if this passes in November, we're going to add those to the Home Rule Charter. It was sponsored by Helena Moreno to get through council on the council side, and it was co-authored by every member of the council. I also see that question about the living wage. So we use the phrase living wage as sort of a forward-looking piece of policy. The city has a definition of a living wage that is currently a little over 15, I believe, that they use for city workers and will move up over time. And so we wanted to make sure that we didn't attach that definition, that we used a phrase that would move with time, in the possibility in the future of we can get rid of preemption, we can move things forward, all of that. And that basically, if the city ups that living wage, that the definition, as we see it in the Workers' Bill of Rights, would get upped as well. So we wouldn't have to move them separately. We're working on that. The idea of that is it's the first piece in what we're hoping and I think successfully going to do as a 3-part policy package. So that is these are the things we believe in as a city. It calls the question to the city of New Orleans about how we think workers should be treated here and what we think workers deserve. It's a public conversation for us to have, and it's a set of ideas and ideals and values about what we believe in as New Orleanians. So that's the first piece.
Britton,
Yeah.
can you read that amendment and is that
actually, you know what, I can, after I finish talking, I have it in my email, I can put it in the chat.
Okay.
And I'll be really quick. The other 2 are we've been working with the New Orleans Health Department about an incentive program that we're hoping to sort of grow over time. Something, that I think a lot of folks who have worked in progressive advocacy, I'm sure we have all noticed that when we do things, it has to be perfect, and people will find excuses if there's a mistake to get rid of something. And so what we want to do with the incentive program with the health department is started off, pilot isn't the right word. I think bud is the right word, with the idea that it would bloom. So, it would start as like a recognition program and a certain amount of businesses would get recognized as being in adherence with the Workers' Bill of Rights and designated as a healthy workplace. And it's in line with the health department's priorities as well. And so there's that. And then we're also currently working with the Office of Human Rights and Equity. I'm not 100% sure that it's going to be housed there yet, but it would be a workers' commission where basically workers throughout the city could call bad actor bosses to the table and maybe have a series of escalating tactics to have public conversations about why people are being treated badly in their workplaces. The reason we want to put it in the Office of Human Rights and Equity as our first choice is because it houses the Human Rights Commission. It's a commission that's given the power of the state and has subpoena power. And if we're a subcommittee of that, we would get subpoena power. So that's the stuff we're working on. If anyone has questions, feel free to ask them. And I'm going to quickly run into my email and get that ballot language for you.
Thank you so much, Brenton. Valerie, do you see any questions?
No, I don't see it. Oh, okay, yes. I see a question from Lane. Lane, can you answer your question? Wait a minute, living wages. So it's about the same. He kind of answered it, right, Lane? Lane question is what is considered to be living wages? So I think he kind of answered it.
That was answered.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question to Britton is, I just found what I think they call it the ballot title for the measure. Is there more text than that? Because I can't find more text anywhere.
There should be. Let me find out for you. This is
Okay.
this is the last draft of the ballot language I got sent to me from City Council. So it
Okay.
enumerates what will be added.
Oh, good.
And you can see that it's 2 sections. So the first sort of basically everything outside of unions goes into the top one. And then the union one had to be much longer for legal reasons. So it ended up that long. But yeah,
Okay.
you should see more on your ballot. Are you looking on the Secretary of State on the sample ballot?
Yeah, I did. I looked there and then I went to Ballotpedia.
Okay.
Because I let me see, maybe there's better language.
All right. As Lane is looking for that, and Britton, tell us a little bit about your organizing strategy to get the word out about this Bill of Rights, Workers' Bill of Rights.
A lot of things. So if you have worked with Step Up, you also know that we are doing a lot all the time. So, you know, door knocking is a really big part of it, as it always is for us. We've tried to make some strategic decisions about door knocking. This has been a relatively popular amendment in that we don't really have opposition or organized opposition, you know? And so we've been able to drive the message. And so, you know, we are trying to be, I guess we are trying to use this opportunity as well to put some of our door knocking resources into neighborhoods that could use some more organizing and information, and could maybe just, you know, use a turnout bump overall in elections moving forward. And so if we can get some people to talk to their neighbors to be in the habit of voting, then hopefully that'll pay off down the line. And we also know those neighborhoods are going to vote with us anyway, right? So it's good to turn them out. So we're working on that. And then a lot of comms. So I have an email in my inbox right now about morning shows that I get to go on. I'm not a morning person, so it's not my strength, but you know, if you watch the morning news, you might see me on there with one of the workers that we organize with around it. You know, radio ads. Helena's been very active on it. Obviously, it's a good political win for her. So if I were her, I'd be very active on it as well. And then, you know, I think having all council members in favor of it has been, and not just in favor, but co-authors of it has been great to get folks out there. There's socials and stuff like that as well. So digital ads.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
great. I mean, yeah, I mean, and as you alluded to, it seems to me like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
This really is going to benefit a lot of people, and is long overdue.
Yeah.
So just thank you for that work. And let me see, any other questions that anybody else has as to
Yes,
and
yes, Pastor.
materials that if people want to help educate their friends and family about it, where do we get those?
So right now the Step Up office is at Pastor Manning's office. So you can just come by. We're in the back, but also, I'll put my email in here, which if you have questions about the ballot measure at all after this, email is the best way to get an answer from me, because I can leave it unread. It makes sure I get it done and I can write everything out. And so there's that.
Okay, great. Sylvia, somebody had a question?
Yes, I did. And then Ms. Brooke, I just wanted to ask you, that's been a major thing in all of our areas out here in New Orleans East as well, to really understand these amendments. We have a church out here. I'm gonna just ask the pastor tomorrow if we can set up something soon to do stuff like in small groups, since COVID is on the rise, and get with you through your email to see what we could do, because like we know the wording is the main thing that terrifies everybody here.
Yeah.
So I thank you, Britt.
Of course.
I'm
ballot
finished,
measures,
Pastor.
ballot measures do feel really
Thank you,
complicated
Britton.
for people.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. And it can be
Yes,
hard.
Lord.
I
Ms.
hope
Brooke?
ours is,
Sylvia, I think you might be lagging behind
yeah,
Britain's.
I think she is.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I see that now.
yeah, let's give Britain a chance to respond. So you get go ahead, Britain.
Yeah, I think ballot measures can often be really complicated to understand. I think, our ballot measure is not at the reading level that I would like it to be, simply because it has to go into the charter. It is easier than any
Yeah.
other ballot measure I've read, for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that to that point, that's on us, right? Like that's Step Up's job as a leader on this campaign, to make sure that people understand it. And through this process, I met with someone who has run a lot of ballot measure campaigns around the country, and they have specifically spoken about that when you have something like this, right, that's pretty popular. If New Orleanians today were asked to go to the ballot and vote on these things, we'd be good. These are popular issues, but a lot of folks don't understand it. And so that's our job, to make sure that people understand it, to message on it, right? To use those morning shows, those radio ads, those digital ads, and talking to folks at the doors so that they understand exactly what is on the ballot.
Britt, let me ask you this before we get to Brooke. It should be our next question. But if in the conversations that you're having with people at their doors, and you learn that they're not registered to vote, are you able to register them as you go and door knock?
Yes. And there's, I'm trying to remember, we're not at the deadline yet for voter registration for this election, and I don't have it off the top of my head. I wonder if someone else on this call does, for what the last day is. And I know electronic and in person are 2 different days. But yeah, I mean, we register people to vote constantly. Step Up is never stopping doing that,
Good for you all. Excellent. Yeah, very good. Brooke, you have a question?
Yes.
Yes.
Now if I can get back to it, my brain.
I see it, Brooke. It's the one
Yeah.
you put in the chat.
Yeah, the one I put in the chat. Thank you. Yes.
So
How did my son owns a small business in the quarter.
yeah,
He really can't even afford an employee and
Yeah.
come back with anything in his pocket. You know, it just pays the rent. Period.
100%. So I think this has been a big consideration in it. The
Yeah.
first thing is what you're voting on in November is not a law in the sense of like when that passes, those things will not be immediately required of businesses. We are still under preemption. It's a value statement. It's like, and I
Gotcha.
think two things can be true, right? I think
Yeah.
small businesses can have a really hard time, and we can, you know, all believe like workers deserve these things. I'm doing my best to get there. And something I've also, so, the incentive program is another part of this. And we have specifically been talking to different small businesses, and I think keeping local businesses in mind, because, I'm not interested, and the health department is not interested in creating an incentive program that only like Entergy can meet. That who cares? They're fine. Why would I provide Entergy with an incentive? And so,
Big chains,
yeah,
Starbucks or anything else,
yeah,
right?
yeah, that's not the businesses I'm interested
Right.
in uplifting. And so I think a big part of the incentive program is also working with businesses and creating an incentive that's like, what can we do to bring you along to this? So that good actor businesses who want to be supportive employers and just don't have the finances to get there, we can figure out a way to get them there. And just start off by uplifting some small businesses that have been able to do it for whatever reason, and then having that open conversation to be like, how do we get there? What do folks need? Because like a French Quarter business, right? I'm sure if your son owns a business in the quarter, his rent, I'm sure, is
Oh, it's
wild.
huge.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And why we're in a situation where like, large corporations or like folks in New Orleans who hold a significant portion of the wealth are able to open up a business down there and can take that initial hit, but like a single owner small business can't. And so I think, there's a lot of policy things kind of being thrown around for how to handle it. But I do want to like reassure folks that I am not someone who's gonna create an incentive program that only
Right.
benefits corporations. And the health department, who like, we don't care about that. That's not our priority.
Thank
Because
you.
there's also the fact that businesses, that there's a huge disparity between what some businesses make and others businesses, what
Yeah.
versus overhead versus what your product is, whether you're making a lot of money on that or not, or whatever. So
Yeah. I think that's something that's come up a lot too, is like the difference between so many different types of businesses, like retail versus restaurants or bars.
yeah.
Right? Like those are two very different situations. And then in New Orleans, there's a lot of independent contractors, and folks are, misclassifying in some situations. In other situations, it's appropriate. But, how do we protect this significant portion of workers in New Orleans who are independent contractors?
And the charm, I mean, not to.
Let me move on to somebody else to see. Brooke, for that question, Brent, for that response. Any other questions?
Yes, thank you, Brenda, for coming on, and because I've been watching y'all website, and I'm one of y'all cheerleaders. So, but anyway, about the workers, I'm a worker advocate, right? For safety, for pension, for insurance, for wages, cost of living. So, with this worker bill of rights, would this be like a ongoing? I want you to know that Senator Duplessis, he did say he gonna vote for it, he gonna support it, right? So I just want you to know that. So, but as this, I'm looking at it as a foundation, like a ongoing building up to the utmost they can grow. So in the meantime, while we have the city council eye on it and they support, would this be a ongoing, I want to say, development? And how, if so, how will you develop, including the educating the public? Because everyone say they for it, but we only gonna know when they put their action to it, right? So as an employer, do you all that's number one, how you gonna build it up? Number two is, do you all think about having a partner relationship between the employee and employer, like apprenticeship or sponsorship, something like that?
Can you remind me of the succinct version of the first part of your question?
Yes, the first one is after it passed. So I'm speaking in existence, right? It's gonna pass. So after it passed, how you all plan on building it up?
Yeah.
Like,
So
like right now we're looking at the wages, right? But if the person, like you speaking of something a little about the health and the insurance and then, how you gonna plan on building it?
So, I mean, the plan, the sort of enacted policy part of this is what's held in the health department. We put it in the health department specifically because it is a city department that we have worked with for a while and feel really trusting of, and that we think this needs to be taken as a public health issue, and creating healthier workplaces is a priority for the health department. And so I think, working in partnership with them, the idea is like we start with a few businesses across the city, we work out the kinks on a small level, and all of those pieces will be in place immediately. Like we're trying to incentivize all those things at once. So wages, healthcare, leave, union neutrality, all those things. And so it's really the build out of like what we can include as incentives, and how many businesses can we include, and how can we bring other small businesses along in that. And so, I think that's putting it in the health department, and getting our goal also is to get a staff member from the health department to hold it so that someone's accountable for it on that staff, is really the plan to let it bloom over time. And
Okay.
then I think, sorry, my dogs are, I don't think anyone's at the door, but they've
Yeah.
decided someone is.
So you're good.
I think the piece about apprenticeships, mentorship, stuff like that with workers, I think it's not the lane of this particular policy program. But I do think is like generally incredibly important. I just sort of don't want, I sort of, to speak to the first part, I think part of doing this well is not getting too big too fast and growing in a really sustainable way. And so, bringing workers along in every way, and, giving people opportunity is incredibly important. And I think, there are definitely organizations in the city that have been focused on that. And I don't want to put it on the plate of the Workers' Bill of Rights right out the gate, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I'm talking about as you build up. Right
Yeah.
now, to me it's the foundation, right? You land the foundation, you land the bricks, the bricks, the bricks, the bricks. So as you grow, that's what I was thinking about as you grow, like in the future. Also, on that note, I'm telling you, have you all y'all outreach? Have you all been to because I done met a couple of people. It was, to me, one is too many. A couple of people that do not know about the Workers' Bill of Rights. Now, you just told us how you all put it out there, how you all network, and how you all outreach. But at the same time, have you like visit the churches? And I'm gonna get your information because we have in the near future, October the 5th, we're gonna have a in-person forum gonna come jazz at the Jazz Mark. I'm gonna put that in my announcement. But in the meantime, Have you all thought about like visiting different churches and the restaurants, the fast food restaurants, associations, different coalition groups, the neighborhood association?
Got it. Got it. Sorry, let's give Brittany a chance to answer. I think you got that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, the first thing I want to sort of for folks to have in their minds when they're talking about this is that ballot measures have much less of a public light shined on them than candidates do. And so it's like it's really normal at this level to be talking to people and for them to have no idea that there's any ballot measure on the ballot. And when you talk about us, I recommend talking about the Housing Trust Fund. I see someone asked about it. I think reaching out to Leslie Harris's office is probably the best way to get exactly what's written in there, and her office should send it out to you. So we are happy to go anywhere we have the capacity to go. If you want to send me events in that email, we will show up. We will table if we can. We've on the leadership of this campaign is me, an organizer from Step Up, and 6 organizers in training. So we've got a pretty solid staff on this and can send people out to do stuff. And so, please send us places to go. I'm happy to. And, if folks don't know about it, tell them about it, because it's harder to get the message out around a ballot measure. Voters are just not as excited about it.
Mhm.
And the way I've talked about it with people is in New Orleans, the residents of the wealthiest majority white neighborhoods have a 20-year longer life expectancy than residents of the poorest majority Black neighborhoods. That is horrific and unacceptable. We cannot let people in our city get 20 years shaved off their life through what is a policy choice, Like all of those things are policy choices. What's going on in those neighborhoods is housing issues, environmental issues, wages, healthcare access. That's what's causing it. I don't need to look at a bunch of research, That's what it is. And so when I talk to people about it, I try to take this perspective of like, this is on the ballot. We need to help out our folks, we need to show up for our neighbors, which I think New Orleanians are really good at doing. Every single time a hurricane hits the city, everybody's just like on their front lawn cooking for like the whole block, like people take care of each other here. And so that is really how it's sort of the double-edged sword of a ballot measure, is that people are less interested in it. The general public is less interested in it, but it gives us an opportunity to have a real sort of casual conversation about it, we need to help out folks. We need to show up for folks. People deserve to make more money at their jobs. We need to, get our folks access to healthcare, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and we must do whatever we can to decrease the wealth gap in this city. That has to be a major part of the conversation. People need to begin to be able to build wealth and have more money in their pockets. This wealth gap that exists between the haves and the have-nots, and primarily divided between race, really we need to see that shift in some meaningful way. All right, Valerie, any other questions? You see?
I didn't see any questions.
All right, not seeing any. All right. Somebody typing something there, Valerie?
No, yeah, that was Brent.
Okay. All right. Britton, so there's no more questions. Brittany, any final thoughts that you have? Anything you want to
I appreciate y'all having me a lot. I'm honored to be working at Step Up and working on this, and just make sure you talk to folks about it. Another upside of having a really non-controversial ballot measure, or relatively non-controversial ballot measure, is it's easy to bring up with your family and friends. It probably won't start an argument. So make sure people know about it. Let folks know it's on the ballot. I know a lot of folks are really concerned about this presidential election, and rightfully so. And so just when folks go out there, make sure they're looking all the way down their ballot.
And
Okay.
understanding what we're looking at.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Britton. Britton, we appreciate so much the work that Step Up Louisiana is doing and your participation in that. And especially appreciate you being here with us tonight and your articulation of what's going to be important on the ballot and why it's important. So thank you so much. And you've given us all your information to get a hold of you.
Yeah, and I'll put my email in the chat one more time before I jump off. Y'all feel free to reach out to me if you need anything.
All right, Britton, I know where to find you too.
All right, yeah. All right, thank y'all. Y'all have a good night.
All right, you too, Britton.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Let's conclude with any closing announcements. I know Valerie has one. Anything any place we need to be at, show up for and listen to.
Yes, we are having, when I say we, it's a couple more organizations, including Black Voters Matters, Delta, Power Coalition, New Orleans East, the L9. We are getting together. We are having a in-person forum, educational voter registration form. We're going to be discussing the 3 amendments. We're going to be discussing the project 2025 and the laws on registration. It will be October the 5th. It will be October the 5th at the Jazz Market on Uptown. So we have the representative, Delisha Board will be our moderator. We will have various guests that will be speaking on these issues, and we try to explain it the best way we can. We also will have on-site registration. So we're asking everyone to come out. This will be October the 5th. That's a Saturday. From the doors will open at 9 o'clock. This event will be from 10 to 11:30.
All right. Thank you, Valerie. Let's show up and participate. Thank you so much. All right. Any other announcements?
Yes, I had sent Miss Brooke a flyer. Reverend Bell is having his 70th birthday party coming up, so she have everything for Kiana to put it out on the newsletter.
All right. Very good. Thank you so much.
That will be in October.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much. Any other announcements?
Yeah, I've got 2 things. One is, I know we'll discuss this more tomorrow, but about code enforcement's great guffaws this week. And the other is, it came to my attention yesterday afternoon that a grain elevator is being put at the end of my street.
Yep.
And this is a huge health problem. It is fires, explosions, breathing problems, all kinds of things. And this was passed through the port and the company, which is called Sunrise Manufacturing or whatever. And they, these two, so anyway, keep your ears and eyes open because there'll be meetings.
Yes.
And
ma'am.
I just wrote a long, I CC'd Sylvia and Pastor Manning on my letter to all the public officials I could think of to alert them to this and something has to be done. So.
Amen. Pastor Manning, that's what I had called you for over the weekend, but I know you were busy because we familiar with that.
Yeah.
So I told her we need Dr. Joy and Joe.
Yes.
To speak with us on this topic so we can help Miss Brooke them out.
Absolutely. Yes. That's
and there was no public comment. I just want you to know there's been no public comment. The advocate did post the port had a meeting and they this is the most amusing part. They had 5 protesters there who were there against or pro-Gaza protesters. And the port took that when they said, do you agree with this? The port, that they said, the protesters said, yes, thinking they were answering about their own issue. And instead they used that as, yes, it was okay to put the grain elevator in there.
Mhm.
Well,
So anyway,
And I
we
have one more thing, Pastor, I wanted to add. Our former president of the area, Miss Linda Williams. I don't know if she's still on the line or not, but I moved up to presidency for Rosedale now instead of vice president, but we are still a team. But what I wanted to state was when we went to the code enforcement thing Saturday morning, it is a joke. You know how we used to say in this city, 911 is a joke? That's how I feel with these people changing people like they're changing underwear. Excuse the expression, because you'd be like, who do I talk to? Where?
yeah.
So what I'm saying, they passed something and we wasn't aware that had taken place in city council for John with the billboards, the one who did the billboards for us upriver that time. Well, he have his father-in-law have a digital board, billboards. So they passed it for them to put it out here in the East. I had spoken with Miss Betty about it as well. Please keep your ears open to that, because this is the thing I was telling you, we stopped it before, from them changing our area from residential to C2 to fit the billboard. So please help us on this endeavor to keep our ears and eyes open.
All right.
John reassured me that he wouldn't, but that go in one ear and come out the other. Money rules for
Absolutely.
some people.
This is why we have a pillars meeting, to bring those issues to
Okay.
and so this is let's just get through announcements, but we'll bring.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Any other announcements?
Yes, Pastor, I am wearing Just Beyond t-shirt. So anybody and everybody and your neighbors and your friends and your family and your foes, we are asking that everyone please purchase a t-shirt from Just Beyond. And when you wear these t-shirts, you are speaking without opening your mouth, that you are representing justice and you are helping out a coalition group that speak up for justice, standing strong together in unity. So to purchase these shirts, you just see one of the pillars, and the main person is Miss Sylvia McKenzie.
Thank you. Valerie.
Let's then end in prayer as we go our way, asking God for us. Let's go before God. God, we have so much number one to be thankful for, and God, we just come with gratitude to be able to meet together on tonight, to hear and to listen and to learn and to be motivated to make a difference. And God, we just ask that you would bring all issues to light, God, that were spoken on this call, because we know that people are being hurt. We know that people's lives are being compressed and hurt in such a way, hindered in such a way that they cannot thrive. And so, God, we ask that you would help us care for one another, that we would not just be concerned about our own selves, our own neighborhoods, but the whole city of New Orleans. God, now that as we end this meeting, God, as we go our separate directions, watch over us, and wake us, give us peaceful sleep on tonight, wake us up on tomorrow, to be eager to fight for justice once again. We ask it in the name of Almighty God, and I ask it in the name of my Savior, Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank God. God bless everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night.
good night all.